Welcome to this next episode of the E28 build. And first of all, thanks to all of you who made comments or sent me DMs all the way from California, Detroit, South Africa, Asia, whatever. It's very, very nice to get some feedback, and I'm happy to boost your projects and to make your life a little bit easier when it comes to certain things on a build like this. So today, finally, we're gonna put the engine in the car. So let's see if it fits. And besides the engine, we have some other goodies as well, like door sills and some seals in the trunk. That's also been done. So I'm gonna show you how that was done. So it's time to put the fan in place on the engine, and this is threaded to the left, so it's opposite of what you're used to. And once you have it in place, it's like that. But I mean, come on, that fan doesn't really look like it's doing this engine any justice, does it? So let's do like this. Now that's better. To tighten this so it's really doesn't come loose when it's not supposed to, you have a 32mm wrench or key, and you put it down here, and like you remember, it's to the left. So just tighten it gently, it doesn't need to be extreme, and it will be perfect. This will do the trick. This clutch arm, or this one which is then erected or like pushed forward by the slave cylinder, will also push a bearing here. So the bearing will spin against the pressure plate, and we have a new bearing. Gonna open it up like this, and it's supposed to be sliding on and fit in between here with the flat sides of the bearing facing up and down into this arm, which means it cannot spin. And then this one has a bearing in front, so the pressure will be released through this bearing towards the pressure plate when that's spinning with the engine RPM. So that's all, and the slave cylinder is already hooked up in the car with the hydraulics and everything connected. So what we're going to do next is to put the flywheel and the clutch and pressure plate onto the engine, and then we're going to fit this one onto the engine and have the whole package ready to go in the car. The next step in the build process of the engine and gearbox assembly to put it finally into the car is to get the clutch, the flywheel and the gearbox in place back here. So I prepared as much as I could. There is the attachment here, the crank, and there is a dowel supposed to be located in one of the holes. I have it right now in the flywheel, so I will show you. However, we're going to put the flywheel in place, tighten this with the right torque, and later on also connect the rest of the parts. So this is the flywheel. You have this hardened steel washer to tighten the bolts towards. Then you have the clutch, the pressure plate, and all the assembly parts for those. So after that, we're going to hook up the gearbox to the engine and install it in the car as a complete unit. So yeah, that's what's coming up next here. First of all, on the crank here, there is one of these holes which has a guiding, which means it's bigger than the rest of the ones. So in that hole, this should be placed. It's a dowel, and this one should be knocked in here. And the reason for this is that the flywheel is asymmetric. It has a trigger point for the ignition and the injection system. So the flywheel cannot be placed in any position. It needs to be in the correct one. Otherwise, the ignition and the reference point in the gearbox, the sensors I've showed before, cannot be triggering on the right place, and you will have a misfire. So right now, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to put this straight in, and then the flywheel will come on. So next thing is to get the flywheel up, even though the engine stand is making it harder. And I've located the bigger hole to find the guide, this dowel, and should be sliding on. Yeah, there it is. There's a full contact to the crank. So once the flywheel is attached, we take this, the metal disc, and the bolts. This is stretchy bolts, which means they should be replaced if you use them once. And they're also prepared with a Loctite type of material, so they won't come loose when you're revving the engine. That would be a nice surprise, wouldn't it? To have this one in your lap inside the car. So we're gonna just put them in place, and later on we're gonna torque them in a cross pattern, like always. Normally when tightening these nuts up, there is a way to lock the flywheel with an insert here. You attach here to the assembly points for the starter motor, and you lock this cogwheel. You lock it in place so you can tighten those bolts without the engine turning over. However, I lack this tool, so I need to invent something different. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna take this. It's the socket for the front part of the crank. So I'm gonna put this in place here, and with this long lever down here, it's gonna prevent the engine at least from turning over. So we're gonna try this one. So 105 Newton is the torque for the flywheel. So let's see if this can be done like this, or if we need to find out another solution. Worked. Just like yesterday, we put those in place and put the engine into the engine stand. This build has been taking very long time due to several reasons, but one of them, well, I have to film everything. So at this point you can see the reference point. This is like a tooth pointing out, and there is the flywheel has been milled down a little bit here, so the sensor will lose its connection to the flywheel and drop the flank, signal flank, and then when it reaches this tooth, it immediately pops up and indicates the ignition reference point, top dead center on the first cylinder. So that's why we need to have the flywheel in a specific place, especially on the M30 B34. To get this in center, there is a possibility to use a centering tool. I don't know if this really helps, but it's something I normally use. And what I'm doing then is like I'm putting this in, and it has the same diameter as the bearing inside. Then you slide the clutch outside of it. And then you can put this one with a slight pressure, and you will have it in center. So that is one way to do it. I'm sure there's more. Pressure plate should be attached with the M8 16 millimeters onto the flywheel. They should be torqued with 22 to 24 Newton meters. So I'm going to do that as well. So let's put this one in place. Is it 6 or is it 8? The reason you're centering the clutch is to make it easier when you're about to put the gearbox in place, because the spline will be open and available to aim for the engine. So that is the main reason for that. Okay, so let's start torquing up. 22 to 24. Perfect. Reason for those are to be able to just locate where it's supposed to go. I don't know if it helps anything, but let's try it. Could go. Or we remove them if we feel we need to. They actually did help, because I didn't need to focus on lifting and keeping the front of the gearbox in place. I could just focus on twerking and getting it inside. Look, this I didn't even know, but now we know, all of us. Good idea, put some long threaded bars in place to help you guide it on. And no need to focus on lifting this heavy gearbox while doing this. All right, so let's put the nuts in place. When working with a starter motor, this type of key is quite nice to have, and you can reach in behind the starter. Luckily, you don't replace the starter that often. It's good to make sure it's working before you put it in place, because it's not this easy to access when it's located in the car. There we go. Then it's about to connect the starter. And we have two connections here. We have first the battery power supply. This is the full amp from the battery, so that the motor gets its power as it should. And the next thing to connect is also the solenoid. This is the remote for this unit, so it's activating when you turn the key. We've come to the point to put the sensors into the gearbox and secure them and wire them up to the engine harness. And right now, before I put this final cover on, it's easy to see that the front one is reading on the cog wheel, which means it's a speed sensor. It registers the engine RPM. If I remove this one and go to the lower one, down here, you can see it's reading on the flywheel on the clutch plate, the rear one of the one, which has the trigger once per revolution. So they do different things, those two sensors. One is, of course, the RPM of the engine, and one is the trigger for the ignition and injection. So it's important to connect those on the right connector up here later on. However, it's easy to mix them up, so if it doesn't start, switch place and you will probably have a car starting up immediately. So let's put them in place. Both of these sensors are the same make and type, so you can switch place. And to keep the cables secured and safe, there is a protection at BMW, which is original. It's like a spiral cord like this. So that's to wrap them into this, which makes it easier to keep them connected together and safe from damage and stuff. And we will later on also have a bracket down here, which you can put a cable tie or something to secure the cables even further from reaching any hot parts or, well, anything which could be harmful for the cable. So there it is. To prepare the engine installation, we need to get the hood standing in a better angle. This is the standard angle with the gas shocks here. But I do have a tool which I use from time to time, which is like this. It's just a bar with 2 holes. So I can replace the gas cylinder with this bar and making the hood stand totally vertical. So I think I'll start preparing for that right now. So basically what I do, I disconnect this one like that. And on this side, I remove it fully. So I have it here. I then put the hood in this position and I replace with this one. Like that. A lot easier to access. Finally, the moment is here. To get the engine inside the car, and with the help of Tim, we're gonna do this. It requires some running up and down and under and over to make sure that the everything is like sliding in as it should and nothing is getting damaged, or that the engine is hooking up to something, some cables or some brake lining or anything. So I speed this video up just to make it more interesting, but you will see the most of it. And now it's about to get the engine in a steep angle so that the gearbox can slide in and we still don't hit the AC condenser in front with the balance wheel or the belt wheels. But you are limited towards the firewall, so it's really tight, but it is possible. So yeah, I've done this a few times, and that's why I know it's possible. So if it feels like it's not gonna work out, just try again, because it is. So right now we're putting a jack underneath the car to lift the gearbox up, straightening it out the engine in a correct angle, making more room, and we do this step by step during the process while we lower it down slowly, trying to fit the engine mounts. And finally it finds its position, and yeah, so it's a few minutes work, but yeah, it takes forever to get there. So when everything is in position, put a nut on the engine mount so it keeps its position and doesn't come off if you manage to adjust something. So now it's in, everything is secured, and yeah, if you ask me, looks perfect. So now it's just to connect the rest of the things. Yeah, so the engine is in place, and we're gonna attach the gearbox to its position here in the center on the prop shaft tunnel. So that's what we're going to do next, and to do so we need to get the special nuts, this one with the T-track in the bottom, and we just insert them. There is one place here, there's a little bit wider, and we put them in, and then I'm going to clean the track a little bit, and then we're going to try again. Yeah, so cleaning up is a good idea, and I mean, we didn't put that much attention to the under tray of this car, but later on, when the car is running, we will put this car on a 2-pillar lift and really clean up everything and taking care of the the appearance underneath. So the lift I have in this garage is quite well, it's mostly for assembling, so it doesn't give you much access underneath. So there will be, in another garage we have, it's possible to do that. So that's coming later on. So we're gonna put the gear shifter in place now when the gearbox is where it is, lengthwise at least. So we're gonna start with putting it in the bushing up here in the back. There we go. There it is. And then we're going to take this one. We're going to have a washer down here as well, but I have that in stock. So right now the shifter is connected. And right now we're jacking up the gearbox in the right position. So it's careful to make sure that the 4 square head bolts really fit into the bracket of the gearbox, so you don't mess up the rails or anything. So adjust them while the gearbox is really closing in, and then if they don't fit exactly, just jank it a little bit like that and it will slide on, and yeah, that's it, it's in place. Yeah, and of course you always plan to manage everything on time, but I realized I forgot to fill the oil in the gearbox before putting it in the car, so I had to deal with it right now. Yeah, what do you know. So it's a 1.6 liters, and in this case I'm using a 17 millimeters like hexagon socket and just opening up the plug, and then I'm just gonna pump in oil until it pours back over the edge, so you know it's full. Yeah, so since I forgot to put the oil in the gearbox, like I said, I've been heating up the oil in the water. It's not boiling, but it's still hot, so making the oil more like easy to pump. And I have this 12-volt pump unit, so I'm gonna pump it up in the gearbox from the bottle itself. And yeah, this would be so much easier if I just remember to do it before I put the engine inside. Yeah, I've speeded this video up because it's like looking at paint drying, and yeah, I'm filling it up. It's about 1.6 1.7 liters, but I mean, if you fill until it pours back out, you know they have the right level inside. And since the oil was preheated, it's really working well with this small oil pump, so I can recommend doing like this if you're doing change on a car where the gearbox is already in place. Yeah, so slave cylinder, it's already hooked up on the car. I never opened this hydraulic system, so it's been working all the time. And this is a single acting cylinder, which means if you have a poor seal inside or something, it will show, oil will come out. There is no 2 chambers inside, there's only one. And right now just pushing it in, making sure it's hitting the lever, the one I showed you with the release bearing earlier. So yeah, and then tighten it up, and after that should be ready to go. Okay, and the next thing we're gonna do is gonna remove the oil drain plug on the rear differential, drain the old oil, and we're gonna put some new one inside, limited slip oil, to make sure the differential inside is also overhauled with fresh oil. And later on this rear suspension will come down, but right now the aim is to get the car running, so we're going to use the 10 millimeter insects and we're gonna have an extension pipe here. Yeah, normally they're quite tight. So there's about 1 liter of oil in this big rear differential. Looks quite fresh. However, we will replace all the fluids in the car to make sure it's up to date. And while we're looking at that, we might as well open up the filler cap. It's quite loose. Yeah, and it's always a good idea to replace those aluminum or copper seals on the plug to make sure they seal correctly and that you don't have any annoying leakages later on. Yeah, so we can consider it drained. This, I'm using a copper washer this time to seal. I think it's softer than aluminum and it will seal properly. So I'm going to put this one back. I'm going to use the same electrical pump I used for the gearbox. I put the pressure hose inside and I put the suction hose into the oil canister, and it's important to use a GL5 oil, an oil with the additive GL5, because this is a limited slip differential, so it needs to have that special additive inside. So let's go. It's a very thick oil, so it will take some time to pump it in. It's like syrup. And there she's full. Take this out. One thing many of us that repair and refurbish this kind of car struggle with is the seals for the door opening, which is supposed to come on this flange all the way around and down here to this seal. There is a cover down here. And this seal, which is identical diagonally in the car, so the rear right is the same as the front left, and the rear left is the same as the front right. That is extremely expensive to buy new today. It's 500 euro each. So instead of spending all that money on that seal, it's possible to buy a universal one. I bought this one. It's 4 meters for like, I don't know, 20 euro, 25. And it looks like this. This is the seal, and here is the mount. So it's a steel core inside of this rubber. So just knocking on to this part like this, and you have the sealing. So of course the original one has a textile surface, but I mean, come on, that's not even on the modern cars, and you don't really see the difference when it's all in place. It's not damaged or anything, it looks fresh, so I rather have that. So I'm going to show how to do the front one, and then it's the same for all the other doors. Yeah, I just continue to push it on here to the flange all the way up. Push it in, and later on it's possible to use like a soft hammer or something to knock it in place fully, because to get this steel core really to grab onto the flange. And the trick is, when you come up here, when you come to the corner up here, you need to cut the seal in 45-degree angle here, so you can continue towards it, and you glue them together with a super glue of some kind. Use a super glue that you trust, because you will never have any stress on this seal. It's just gonna fit together. So you can glue it together here in a 90-degree angle with two 45 angle cuts. So I'm gonna do that as well. Okay, so I did a 45-degree cut and I glued them together, and now they're here. Using one kind of super glue of a good quality. And then when you continue all the way here, don't forget to get the inner sealing over the edge like this. So you squeeze that inside the seal all the way down. Here comes also the A-pillar cover, should be around it like that. And then you go all the way down until you come to the seal. And we're going to refurbish those as well. They look terrible on this car and on most cars because, yeah, they wear out over the years. So I'm going to show how to make this look representative. So there it is, the seal all the way around the opening, all the way down. So now when we close the door, it's tight and it's nice. It's a thump. So right now we're gonna refurbish the door sill. So this time we're gonna refurbish this inner door sill. And this is quite normal. This aluminum foil is getting bad. So I'm gonna try to get that removed all the way. And then we're gonna clean up the plastic sill. And once that is done, we're gonna, I'll show you. We're gonna put some vinyl instead of this chrome. And hopefully have it to look decent enough to go on the car. I'm using the good old thinner, this paint thinner, and see if it's doing the trick. Normally it does, but this one was really bad. I have better ones, but if I'm gonna show it, I'll better show on one that's really the worst case. It's pretty much the same procedure as I showed on the bumper trim and the door trim, the outside. That the surface of the plastic is actually melting a little bit when you're rubbing the thinner, which means that scratches and stuff like that, they get a lot better. They tend to almost disappear. And at the same time you clean up the surface. So this is a trick you can do on all parts. And if you didn't see that episode, I recommend you to go back and have a look. And you can see how you can make your bumper rubber and your door trim and all the rubber parts of the car look like brand new. Instead of buying expensive parts when they're actually not broken, they're just worn a little bit and quite happy with the outcome. It's now clean. So we're going to try to make it look a little bit more up to date. So I cut some matte black vinyl. Work the vinyl down so it's coming really into all the edges where it's supposed to be. Something like that. I'm then using a box cutter to cut the foil along the groove where the old aluminum foil was originally located. Sorry about the camera angle, it is what it is, but I mean, I think you get the picture. Okay, so at least it's better. Could be even better if you have some skills, which I don't when it comes to this material, but still it looks a lot better. I don't think it's gonna make put the car in a bad day, in a bad light. So this is what I'm gonna go for at this point. It could be fun to have the blue and green Alpina colors, but at this point I didn't have it, so I'll go for this. I could always replace them later. It's not a big job. Took a minute or so. Yeah, let's put it in place. Yeah, the before and after result differs quite a bit, even though they are black. It could be a funnier color, it could be silver, it could be, like I said, Alpina, M colors, whatever. But still, it's an easy way to refurbish if you have a seal like this and it's in bad condition. So, ready to close the door. Yeah, I can only say the car is really popping, coming along. So today, this is it. Door seals, all in. We have the engine in place here, and next thing is to wire it up, connect everything, make sure it fires up. So that's in the next episode. Promise you to be in the next few days. So it's not a lot still to do until we can fire it up and see that it's running like it should. And so I'll keep you waiting for the trunk seal. I'll do that in the next video. And we have the prop shaft, exhaust system before we can do a test run. So with that being said, I guess this is today's video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and please comment on the video and let me know what you think. Did I do something wrong, or do you want to see more things about what I did? I can explain better. I'm sure of it. So well, until the next time, and it won't be that long like it's been during the summer holidays, but yeah, see you in the next few days.